Guys, we have a really interesting guest on the podcast today. You're going to love his story. Top Gun in the house. He's going to tell a story about how he's a fighter pilot going to Top Gun school, and then life hit back, right? And that happens all the time. And we have to be prepared for this because this is a real deal. And we're going to talk about why passive income is so important and why you need to have this ready because you don't know when these days in life are going to come up. He came down with cancer. He fought this. Now he's fighting to build a successful business, and he's doing great at it. He's running a real estate investment out of Florida. He's doing Airbnb, flipping houses, keeping house. He's doing lots on the investing side, but he's also now partners with us here at eXp Realty. Yes, another investor agent. Why are people that are investors with the investor mindset coming to eXp? I don't know, Matt. Let's talk about that today. Welcome to the call, Matt Gardner. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's kind of dig into this. So, you're killing on both sides of the business. You're doing sales, you're doing investing, you're working for all sorts of different income streams. We're going to talk about all these, some of the things that you're doing in the business. But let's talk about your background because this is pretty interesting. Probably one of the most interesting, could be the most interesting story we've had on the podcast. So everybody knows the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise, but this is the real deal right here. He is a fighter pilot, right? So let's talk about this. How did you decide that you wanted to become a fighter pilot? And then how do you even get into doing that? Isn't it pretty tough to kind of get into the school like that?
Yeah, man. So I grew up, my hero, just like most little boys, was Superman, right? So I always wanted to fly. Like I just wanted to have that capability of flying. And obviously we don't have that innate capability in us, but the closest thing you can get is getting into a fighter jet. So in college, I just did what I needed to do. I did ROTC. I went to the University of Florida, did ROTC through that. And after ROTC, I commissioned in the United States Air Force and went to pilot training. Then from there, it's competing. Everything's a competition. You went to basic pilot training into like the fighter school, and then from there, you kind of get your jet. My first fighter jet I flew was actually the F-15 that's there behind me. I flew that for about 4 years, and then transitioned over to F-35, which is like the newest fighter jet, the stealth fighter that we have in America right now. So it was a fun run.
So kind of give an idea of what it looks like to be in that jet. How fast do they get up to these days?
Oh, man. So the F-35 is actually a little slower than the F-15. The F-35 will get to Mach 1.6, call around 1,400 miles an hour-ish, depending on what altitude you're at. But typically we cruise around 0.9 Mach or so, depending on what we're doing. But yeah, it goes fast. The coolest part of the F-35 is the fact that it's stealth. I equate it to, it's like, imagine you're going to a boxing ring with someone who's maybe more powerful than you, but the benefit you get to do is you get to blindfold them before you fight. So it's kind of the way it is when we fight these guys. It's pretty awesome.
So I'm sure there's some young guys coming in through college or in high school listening to this right now. So like, how does even, would you even get into that? How competitive is it? Like how many people do they actually take on that can actually even do this? Because it doesn't seem like it seems like it'd be in a select elite group. It's tough to get into there. You had to do something, right?
Yeah. So about 1% of the America's population is in the military, and about 1% of the population of the military are fighter pilots. So within that, there's, and throughout training, so in pilot training, we started with about 35 people. And of that 35 people, through air sickness or just academics or just poor flying or whatever reason, we were weeded down. For the fighter track, we had 6 people out of the 35. And out of those 6 people who went to the fighter track, there were, I think, 3 of us who got fighters. So about a 10% ratio of people who go to pilot training.
So in my head, it sounds like a fun thing to ask you. Like, I want to go up and ride with you, but at the same time, I don't think I'd be able to actually step in. I think I'd panic. I don't even like flying on a normal plane. But let's dig in this because this is, it's so important. I like your story because people are going through life thinking they're invincible, just like Superman, right? And they don't realize, because I've had it happen to myself. I had major health issues. A lot of investors and entrepreneurs I know had major health issues. Parents could have health issues. Children could have health issues. You could get hit in a car wreck. You don't know what's coming in the future, and there's a bad day waiting for every one of us. And that happened to you just here recently. And so you're going off to Top Gun school, had a bad health diagnosis. So let's kind of talk about that, and then how you transitioned into real estate and how you're down a new path. And let's kind of
yeah, for sure, man. So I got accepted to the what we call weapons school in the Air Force. Top Gun's a Navy thing, but it's essentially the same thing as we know about. And as I was out in Las Vegas flying with that unit, I just felt weird. It was an awkward kind of thing. I was getting out of breath more frequently, and I just didn't feel right. So when I came home, I got an X-ray, and my doctor, she was like, "Hey, you have like 9 tumors in your chest, big ones."
Jeez.
She's like, "You have one that's like the size of a softball between your heart and your spine." The next day, we did another scan of my heart, and the cardiologist was like, "Bro, your heart's going to stop working tomorrow. You need to get heart surgery like now." So next morning, I was opened up on the surgery floor with my chest. They did a little heart surgery to relieve some pressure in my heart, and then the following Monday started chemotherapy, and 4 months of chemotherapy after that. did the whole cancer patient look, no hair, no eyebrows, and just feeling crappy for the 4 to 5 months. But while I was down, you really get to kind of reevaluate your life, and I realized the military kind of just controlled everything I did. I enjoyed flying. I appreciated every second in the military. I'm still active duty right now, actually, going through the whole medical board process. But I realized as I've read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a lot of these other books that really influence a lot of big investors, that I want to take more control of my life. I want to have more freedom to do the things I want to do. And that's when I was introduced to real estate. That's when I met, some people in EXP and in the investor world. And it's really just kind of a mindset shift, like you go from this mindset of this fixed income, what we consider security, right? Like I feel secure because I know how much my paycheck's going to be. Then you realize, that's kind of a false sense of security to where I want to take control and really, really have security in my life. That was kind of the big transition for me.
Right, so when you jumped in, what was the first thing you did in real estate? You started flipping houses, buying houses for rentals. What was kind of the thought process by how you approach the business? Because this is usually what people ask. What's the first step once you decide that you have that new idea? Because you have the idea, but then you have to act on it. So how did you get into real estate? What was the first strategy that you started looking into that kind of got your foot in the door?
Yeah, for me, I read a lot. I crushed about probably 20 books. When you're in chemotherapy, you're just down for the count, right? So I'm just in bed and I just crushed between audiobooks and physical books. It was just awesome. And so had the education at that point, and I started going to some meetups. I met Chris and Marianne Lemire at one of the local meetups here. They're bigger investors in the area, and then they took me out to a big, and they were like, "Hey, speaking of this conference, we really like you. We can sponsor one person, and then if you fly yourself out and get a hotel, we'll get your ticket for you." And I was like, "Oh, awesome, yeah." So I went out there, and then from there, my first deal was a flip. So I started getting involved, talking about real estate a lot more. I didn't have the capital for a flip, but I did. I did have a lot of friends, and I started this. So backing up a little bit with the cancer piece of it, I started a YouTube channel about health and fitness and cancer. And I transitioned that to real estate as I started getting the real estate bug in me and wanted to teach people what I've been learning. And so I put out a video about self-directed IRAs on my YouTube channel, and kind of let people know about my plans. And then from there, people just started reaching out to me and say, "Hey, I have money. Here's money for you. Let me know what you want to invest," even though I had no experience. And so through a local wholesaler, I got my first deal to flip. I had to put in only $225 into that first deal to essentially create the LLC and get the bank account going. And the investors funded the rest. And after that first one, I made good 13 grand off that one. My investors made another 35 grand. And man, after you do something like that, your juices are flowing. You're ready to go,
So let's talk about that. You brought up a self-directed IRA. This is kind of an advanced strategy. Most people don't get to that until later when they get into business, usually years down the road. So how did you said you posted ads somewhere, or how did this start out? You started going to Quest IRA events or equity trusts? Because this is something I think more people need to be doing right now, because as the market turns into a recession, right now, those who find the deal have all the power, and there's money everywhere flush in the marketplace. But when the market tightens, money's going to get retracted out. Deals are going to start to pick up. Inventory is going to pick up. And I think raising money in people's self-directed IRAs is going to be the best way to make sure you have consistent closing capital going forward when the market turns, and it's going to get tougher to go to these hard money lenders and easy lenders. They're just everywhere at the REI clubs.
Yeah, totally. I was reading some things today actually about how a lot of people are saying index funds are kind of the next bubble, right? They're thinking people are putting too much money in index funds, and they think that might be the next bubble. So I think self-directed IRAs are the way to go with it. And what I did personally, I just put a YouTube video out saying, "Hey guys, here's self-directed IRAs. This is an awesome capability you can realize with your retirement fund. You don't need to just invest it in notes, right? Not stocks, bonds, mutual funds, index funds type of thing. You have the capability of investing in, gold, real estate, cattle, whatever else you want, as long as you transition to what's called the self-directed IRA." And so I put some details about that, and some people reached out to me because they, we had a prior existing relationship. Obviously, it's not like I'm soliciting or breaking any sort of SEC violations here, but that's really kind of how we started.
I mean, it's important to understand, if you guys are the ones to educate someone on anything, you hold a position of credibility in the situation. So if you go to someone who doesn't know that they can self-direct their IRA into real estate, and you can show them how to get a bigger return, and they don't have to pay taxes on it, who are they likely to work with? A lot of people, I think, are scared to raise money early on, and they want to get into wholesaling or just use an expensive hard money lender because they think that somehow that person's just going to look at them as new in the business, and they're not going to want to work with them. But for the most part, most of these individuals don't know they can lend their money out through a self-directed IRA, and nor are they lending to you. They're lending on a leverage position on the asset. So it's important, guys, to understand that they're looking for you just as much as you're looking for them. Okay, so you start flipping houses, but
Yeah.
you always had in your thought process, I'm sure, laying there, thinking about how you wanted to change your direction in life. What's going to give you freedom to do what you want? I know you have a big family. How are you going to do that? Residual
Yeah,
income,
totally.
right?
That's
So
my son. I'm going to tell him to leave. Sorry. One second.
get him on podcast.
He just woke up from his thing. 1 second. Sorry, dude.
That's all good.
Sorry, dude.
That's all good. He wanted to be on the podcast with that.
He did. He did. So I didn't want to do that.
All right, guys, we're back. Matt had to do some daddy business there. He is a father, which is also probably why he wants to change his life to real estate investing, which most people do. They know it's a great way to do so. Time and money is what people are after. People think they're after money, but people are really after time. And the reason why they get into business or in real estate and go through these ups and downs and eat those hard nights, when they're trying to figure things out, is because they have the hope of building time and freedom money. So you're working on that right now. You're doing some Airbnbs. From what I understand. Let's talk about that, because I think that's a great strategy for a lot of people. I think it's misunderstood from a lot of investors. And let me know your experience. What's been going on? I personally haven't been doing that strategy, but a lot of my friends are.
Yeah, I think it's location specific. I think you can make money with the short-term rental market wherever you are. I live in Destin, Florida, though, so beautiful, sugar sand, white sand beaches here, big vacation hotspot. So it just kind of makes sense. The price to rent ratio around here for long-term rentals just isn't there. You're not even hitting the 1% roll, let alone like the 2% roll when you're trying to cash flow with the long-term rentals typically around here. And there's not many multifamilies as well to kind of make that happen. So the way to do it in the long-term rental market world around here is through short-term rental for your buy and hold game plan. So my first one, we partnered with a dentist actually out inside of Florida, because a dentist in the state of Florida, there's 8 banks that offer what's called a physician's loan. And a physician's loan in the state of Florida, you can get a second home for 10% down with no PMI. And so with that, there was a dentist who had a ton of money, but not a lot of time. And so he decided to fork over most of the money for this house. And I was able to gain some equity just through my sweat equity and a little bit of my own capital. And we bought a place for just under $600,000 along the beach, nice big vacation house. And that house, we're expected to gross between $70,000 and $80,000 this year as far as our numbers there, which should be about a $15,000, $20,000 profit depending on how we hit with the cleaning fees and repairs and stuff. So far, it's been really awesome, because the proceeds we've already made from that one, we've made enough profit that we just closed on last Monday on our condo with just using the proceeds we made from that one. So now we have 2 Airbnbs with just the single investment so far. And so we're rocking and rolling, looking to buy another one here in the next 2 months.
Well, that's a good thing to bring up about the dentist, because doctors and dentists are where I raise a lot of my money. In fact, my actual dentist since I was 4 years old is in my EXP Realty team, believe it or not. So a lot of doctors and dentists are very successful entrepreneurs, but they don't have time, and they're willing to lend their money out because they understand real estate. But I think a lot of people struggle, guys. If you're watching this and you're listening to this thinking you need to go raise money, don't try to raise money from people in real estate. If people are successful in real estate, they use their own money, or they're going to charge you a fortune for it. You need to find entrepreneurs successful outside of real estate. My best lenders run gyms, laundromats, restaurants, doctors. And so I think that's where a lot of people get messed up on and struggle and get that failure. And they don't go out there and ask more people, because they go to the REI clubs, ask around for money. Then they have professional lenders, hard money lenders. But that's interesting that you brought that up. Okay, what about your flips? How many? You're pretty aggressive on these right now, I guess. What types of numbers are you looking at in Florida? Because it's a pretty high price point market. And I want to tie this in, because Airbnb and flipping may go hand in hand for a lot of people, because everybody understands what happened last time. There's a lot of forced landlords. So if you're going to buy properties right now, I think they should cash flow if you have to cash out refi. But there's going to be a lot of forced Airbnb properties on the market, because if you're buying the 350 price point, you have 60 grand in your gap funding in the deal, and you can't get it sold and you get caught at the top. Airbnb is a safety exit strategy, which a lot of people are getting more aggressive than they would traditionally at this point in the market in the past, because there wasn't this strategy before.
Yeah, totally. And the nice thing is, a lot of the bigger management companies around here, the ones that have the 600, 1,000, 1,500 houses, like vacation rentals along the beach, they scoff at Airbnb and they scoff at VRBO. And I love it. I love the fact that they do that, because it totally allows, smaller investors like us to really control what is really the most lucrative market out there. For instance, my house that we bought for a little under 600,000, I went to the property management company who was managing it before me. I was like, all right, dude, I'm talking to the owner of this company. He manages about 700 short-term rentals. I said, if I go with you, just hands off, what will I make? He's like, oh, no, you'll lose a little bit of money. He's like, but people use these for tax havens. He's like, you want to lose money in this? I'm like, This is a sales pitch to you. I'm like, I can still really benefit from tax benefits and cash flow. Like, it's not like I need to lose money to actually get tax benefits. But he said I'd make around $45,000 on my house. That we're going to make around $80,000. And it's funny because we hit $45,000 in the first 5 months. And I was like, these guys are a joke, and it's funny. And I'm happy they are. But that way we can start to really take over the market.
Well, it's just good to put your systems in place. The one thing, I got a lot of friends making a lot of money, but it seems to be when they get to like 15 to 20, that is, unless the ones that I knew that really focus on creating systems up front to scale were more successful. And then the others that were just focused on acquisitions, getting them up and going, they kind of run into a bottleneck because it's not just like a rental property. There's more logistical parts. There's the cleaning. There's people coming in and out. There's just, it's more of a business. It's like running a hotel for the most part, a little hotel chain. So are you doing anything specifically to prepare for that? Are you already identifying certain problems that you can see that you need to prepare for as you scale this business up?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. I think systems are huge. You nailed it there. So a lot of things, just understanding how the search criteria works within Airbnb and VRBO, a lot of it's based on your response rate. So if someone sends you a message and if you don't respond within 24 hours, automatically you're going to be deducted and you're not going to be shown in like the top page search results, which is a bit automated for almost everything. And so someone sends me a message immediately, right away, they get an automated message saying, hey, what's going on? Thank you for your response. Even if I want to at work while I'm working, I'm unable to respond to them because I'm in some sort of a secure facility, then I will they'll get a message saying, hey, sorry, I'll get back to you in a second. I'm at work right now. But it's based on that first response that those search rankings go up. So that's other things, we get automated messages that sound very personal, but they're really not, because there's an automated message. So the morning after every first day, if that makes sense, the first night, the first morning, I guess, however you want to say that, they get a personalized message from me that says, hey, first name, I just wanted to see how your first night went. I really want to make sure you guys are happy where you're staying, whatever. And it sounds very personal, but again, that's just an automated message. It's automated messages, pretty much the route is what I use for that. Pricing is another big tool that people waste a lot of time on, as far as, what price point do I hit? But I use an automated pricing feature as well that, say, Katy Perry comes in town and all of a sudden, you expect people to pay more for rent. Rather than me worrying about, what's going on in town, I use a tool that automates all those features.
Interesting. Are you doing anything special? Like I know people are doing certain designs for sports teams, certain, beach designs, like things like that. Is there anything that you've come across or you've been talking to mentors of yourself that could be value adds that you're able to increase your or drop your vacancy rate? Because it's getting more competitive in some markets. I don't know how it is in your market, but people are needing to be more creative to kind of gain the business.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that people struggle with, especially in a place like this with Airbnb, it's not like in a New York City or a Chicago Airbnb where you're going to have consistent occupancy. In a place along the beach, you expect the delays in occupancy. So I can show you the graphs, but essentially like January, February, we expect almost nobody to stay in our house. March, it goes up to about a 50 to 75% occupancy. April, about a 50% occupancy. May, it drops down a little bit more. But June, July, August, we're looking at 90 to 95% occupancy in June, July, August. And then it drops back down for fall at around 50% or so in the fall timeframe. But realizing that ahead of the time, it's kind of a nice thing for out-of-state investors, because I tell them this and they say, yeah, they can come down in October and spend 2 weeks in this house and still cash flow the way they would have before, and they're not hitting the bottom line. And so that's what a lot of people like about vacationing here or buying investment properties in Destin, because they still cash flow well and they can utilize it as a second home with their family. So yeah, that's it.
That's the game changer right there. I mean, think about people, because before people had vacation rentals, but there was no way to, as a business owner, what Airbnb and VRBO has done is put the buyer or the back end part of the process in place, because you could have a vacation rental, but now it's people can just own properties all across the country, rent them out for you go to save like a month in the winter at their Colorado place, a month in summer, and the rest of the year Airbnb out, and it's an investment property. So it's huge opportunity for investors that understand that right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I want to talk about now, Matt, is, you're doing both sides of the business. And what more people need to understand is they need to be a real estate entrepreneur. If you're just an investor or just an agent, you're not really a real estate entrepreneur. Real estate entrepreneurs are working both sides of the business, leveraging both sides across each other. And now what we're doing with eXp Realty, the reason why so many people are partnering with us or that are investors is because they think the same way that entrepreneurs are thinking at eXp Realty as compared to sales agents. So on both sides of the business now, we can work for equity, cash flow, and active income. So let's kind of talk about that real quick, how we got to know each other, how you met Chris Bounds and Brant Phillips, super rock stars here at eXp, killing it. Grateful that they're partners with us as well. Totally. So why are so many investor mindset individuals also rolling their license into EXP. And let's talk about this because you're growing a team quickly down there and gaining a lot of momentum fast because a lot of people want to work with you.
Yeah, totally. I think people are just finally getting to realize as we're spreading the word, they realize what's so amazing about it. So some of the big benefits that I found. So I'll give you an example. Is one of the larger brokers / agents who's come on board with us. So typically, this agent, or she's a broker, they're pulling in a little over 7 figures, right now as far as profit with their investment company. So they're doing really well.
Yeah.
But she was managing as a broker herself, right? But then she realized as a broker, there's just a lot of headache, right? You got to worry about the E&O, you got to worry about the ins and outs, the splits, make sure everything is right. And that's a lot of the minutia that she didn't want to have to spend time on. Sure, she could kind of outsource it, but still ultimately she'd be responsible for it. So that was a big benefit for her, is the outsourcing of that kind of headache of the administrivia, if you will, that she really enjoyed. And then the other side of it is for someone like her who's very successful, is the way you can build a team and it really generate truly passive income, to where you get agents under you, and as she will, because she's such a powerhouse, they'll be able to just grow kind of similar to you did, and that residual income or that passive income is really, really beneficial as far as a benefit for her.
Well, guys, and we're not going to get too deep into the numbers, and on this call, you can reach out to Matt or myself later, and we'll sit down with you. But essentially, and going in a little over a year and a half, I've now closing in to build a larger residual income than I've built in my investing career. So why people are like, why are you talking so much about this? Well, I'm a full real estate professional. I work both sides of the industry, and I have now a faster ability to scale residual income with less risk. And I can scale it all across the country and work in all 50 states, every Canadian province, and I can partner with people all across North America. So before, as an investor like yourself or myself, it's very tough to bring on partners. Most people don't want to have partners unless they have to as an investor. Now this has shifted the playing field where you can take on as many partners as you want and share strategies and share ideas. And there's lots of different ways we're working with investors through social media and running the business on all sides. So the other thing that's exciting probably for Ariane is that a traditional brokerage model is more difficult to scale as it gets bigger. This is easier to scale as it gets bigger, less risk. EXP is giving them all the bolt-on business. They have 400 paid employees that work for us that are going to help them leverage their business. So there's just so many things that, so many reasons why these brokers are rolling their team in. Yeah. So you've already, what did you add in the past 30 days? Like 6 agents to the company already?
Yeah, we got 6 agents in the past 30 days. The one thing with the bigger agents that they also like is the fact that you can kind of cross-collateralize your systems that we have within EXP. So, KV Core is a huge asset as an agent, but you can also leverage that from your investor side as well, as far as, there's the tools that we have in that, finding deals and helping on your buyers list and in your seller side as well. Right. With the newer agents, what they've really liked is the fact that, as a brand new agent comes on who wants to be just focused on production, nothing wrong with that. I want that, on my team. They benefit from the lower splits. They benefit from the lower caps. They benefit from the one-on-one mentoring that you get within EXP that a lot of other companies aren't able to offer, that kind of one-on-one experience. And just they see the benefits with like the stock options and everything else that we offer. And so all around, it just all you really need to do is show them the model. And I've talked to a lot of people at EXP, and a lot of them are interested. And that nationwide experience is really awesome as well. Like I mentioned to you earlier, we're talking to a big investor out in San Antonio, and it's really cool that an investor in San Antonio can benefit from something, a guy in Florida out here, which is awesome.
That's probably one of my favorite things about this. So my team is now operating in 23 states and 2 countries, and I've met some incredible friends over the past year and a half, and I get to now work with people all over. You're in Florida, I'm in Texas right now. Let's kind of break this down on a high level view looking down in. So investors have always worked for active income through strategies like flipping houses. They've worked for residual income through owning notes and creating cash with the rental portfolios. And they built up equity owning real estate over time. And then most people that are investor agents up until now, if you look at a T-chart, so they have equity, cash flow on both sides. And then on the other side, they have just commission and sales, and that's it. They don't have any equity or residual component. A few companies before had some type of residual component, but now with our stock awards, we have equity, and with our revenue share, we have cash flow. So on both sides, you're working for equity, cash flow, and active income. This has never been able to be done before, and that gives a full 360-degree business. And some of the ways that I was not expecting to benefit was there's lots of agents on our team that don't want to be investors, but they're coming across little properties all the time that may be a $50,000 junky house that to them, it's not even worth their time to list because they're actually negative with their opportunity cost of the time they put into it. So they usually just let these pass up. Now they can bring them to a team leader above you or a partner of theirs that is an investor, and it's a way for them to work together, and they're not wasting any time but still monetizing these leads. So these are some exciting things. So kind of how are you going to set up your business? Are you running a traditional commission split team? Or are you just going to run the revenue share team? Because there's two different types of a team thought processes at EXP. Revenue share is just the sponsorship, inviting people to the company, but then some people are actually running an in-house office team where they're still in the deals doing commission splits. So how's your business kind of look?
Yeah, totally. So I'm actually doing a little bit of both. I'm focusing on production right now with my team. So I do have a traditional team in that sense. Right now, all agents that have joined under me right now are part of that. And I've partnered with the bigger investment company who, they flip and they wholesale, and a lot of their retail leads, they just haven't been able to monetize because they don't have the manpower or the time to monetize those. And so we're kind of that gap fill for them where we're able to monetize those retail leads for them. And I'm able to hand them down to these newer agents who are relatively hot leads, people who call and say, hey, I want to sell my house. Like they're relatively hot leads that I can hand to my agents, and hopefully they can convert those into leads for us. And then the other side, the rev share is, definitely. I'm trying to, preach the EXP gospel, if you will, and show people really like, hey guys, this is really a hugely beneficial company that is expanding, right? When I joined, I think there were around 8,000 agents or so. And now what are we up to? Or 20,000 or so right now?
Like 21,000. Fastest growing real estate brokerage in North American history. Never been a company even remotely close to growing this fast. It's because we're built to create wealth for the agent. Other companies are built to sell franchises to make the owner of the company and regional owners, money for the most part. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I was talking to an agent in another company similar to EXP, but a franchise model, right? And he's frustrated because he's a bigger agent in Atlanta. He's a bigger agent here in Florida, and he has to pay two caps, right? Because there's two different franchises. So he pays a $24,000 cap here and an $18,000 cap in Atlanta. I'm like, brother, like if you joined, you instantly save yourself like 30 grand a year in just caps alone. And I'm trying, things like that once you realize and once you see how some of these other brokerages are just not as beneficial as they should be to their agents, it's nice that you can kind of share the light, Well,
I mean, think about it. Think about what you used to have to do. You'd have to either build an independent brokerage or buy a franchise. And if you buy a franchise, you're putting up a substantial amount of money. You're stepping into a system that you've never run before, and you're going to have to figure out day one you would come in. And most people lose money in franchises. Most people do not make money when they launch a Subway or McDonald's because they still have to run the business. Now, the model works if they run it correctly, but they may not be an entrepreneur. So you have to buy a franchise to put yourself in a box. You pay all this money that you can't get outside of. Now we've taken off the handcuffs, and you can build all across the state. Whereas an independent broker, the other problem that they have is they're pinpoint on a map restricted. And my mentor that changed my life, one of them of many, always used to tell me, Connor, if you build a business locally, you can make $1 million. You build one nationally, you'll make multiple $1 million with the same business. If you build it globally, you can become a billionaire. Look at Donald Trump, right? He's got buildings all over the country. Look at any billionaire, any real big company, they're on all different parts of the planet right now. And so it's just a difference in thought process for massive expansion. So I think I spend less time managing a team of hundreds of agents than a traditional boutique broker does managing a team of 20, because all the questions, all the complaining, all the whining, all the risk, everything falls on that broker, where EXP takes that all off the broker, which is why, Arian's coming in. Now, the other cool thing is you guys are high-level real estate investors. I mean, running, your new partner's running $1 million business beforehand. Someone at the REI Club can't just walk up to you or her and say, hey, share your tricks and share your secrets with us in the investing world, because why would you do that? You'd be hurting yourself and your business in your own local marketplace. Now, when they partner with you guys, the book opens up, because the more you help them win and the more you pour into them, the better it's going to be for those families and the better it's going to be for you guys' business. And so this is a really awesome time in real estate history where people can collaborate and win together. And you're starting to see this collaboration all across the country. Pretty cool.
Oh, totally. And we're seeing even locally, bigger teams start to transition. We just had an ERA team, a bigger ERA team right along the coast, and they transitioned. And it's just really cool to see, the EXP just spreading, and people are seeing the benefits. And that's definitely the way of the future, for sure.
Yeah, guys. So if you're a team leader and you want to sit down with us, there's multiple team role and structures, and we touched on a few of them. But the benefit to the broker is they maintain their branding. You're never going to lose your branding. You're going to come over to the company, but you're going to drop all your liability and risk. And then in the cloud, the brokers are going to review the contracts for you. So it's going to free up your time. But the biggest thing is, think about how many questions a broker has every single day if they run a team of 30, 40 agents. A lot of them tell me it's like running a prison, or they feel like they're in prison. That, or they're running an adult daycare. Those are two things I hear all the time.
Yeah.
And they tell me there's no exit path for them. It's kind of how I felt when I was flipping a ton of houses. I was making a lot of money, but I knew if I stopped doing it, I'd stop making that money. So I didn't want to stop doing it, but I hated what I was doing. And it was like this nasty cycle. And that's where a lot of brokers are at. And so when they come over here, they drop all that and all that goes on to the company. So every time someone comes with a 10-minute question that used to be answered by them, they go to accounting, go to tech outpost, go to payment processing, go talk to the broker in the cloud, which frees up the business owner's time to go back to what business owners are supposed to do, which is focusing on expansion and growth instead of trying to maintain and not lose what they've already built, which is what most do once they hit about 20, 30 agents. So
yeah, a lot of people think that's like less personal. They're like, oh, well, I want my broker to be there, and our brokers are available, but it's nice to have a specialist, right? I can go to, the onboarding specialist who helps me get on to become a agent in EXP, and they know the exact ins and outs. They are specialized in that area, and I love the fact that EXP offers these specialists in each different area. So you go to, you're going to find the answer, and if they don't have the answer, they'll know who to point you to, who will definitely have the answer for you.
Right. So what was what was the biggest reason that you liked EXP? Was it the rev share? Was it stock? Was it training? Was it, all these people increasing their sales business? What is it that was personally attractive to you?
I think so. So I interviewed with probably about 8 different brokerages. Like I went to 8. I went to a flat fee broker. I went through some of the more popular ones, the no monthly fee brokers, and kind of the more traditional brokerages. And then I met Chris out in one of that big real estate event out in California. And when he told me the model, it's really just the combination. It's it hits in all aspects that I was worried about. As a new agent, I was worried about the training. And so that was one of the big aspects. But a lot of other brokerages have pretty good training, right? That's not too uncommon. But really, as the investor mindset's what hit me. So the equity options, so getting those stocks. Even though I'm not a big fan of investing in stocks altogether, but if someone's offering you free stocks, I'm going to take them every day of the week, right? And then the other piece of it is the rev share. So I love the idea of building a team, helping other agents, do well and produce. And not only do they grow, we are able to grow together. I love that concept of helping other people learn. The same thing like right now with the F-35 as an instructor in the F-35. I love taking someone who knows nothing about flying and teaching them, and all of a sudden they're badasses and can go to war in this fighter jet, right? And so that's kind of the same process I feel in the real estate world. I just love taking someone and building them up in this model of EXP, and then run with it. And they can do, if they were already crushing it before, they can do even better than they were. If they're a new agent game, they can go from nothing to millionaire, in a matter of a couple of years.
I mean, it's been the game changer for us. Let me kind of give the audience a quick rundown on the numbers so they can see how powerful this is. So we have a revenue sharing company that's sharing 50% of the revenue back with the agents. So we're not grown through corporate recruiters like our franchise top-down brick and mortar competitors are. So what companies like Amazon have figured out with affiliate sales and other companies all around the planet, and similar to EXP, is they're eliminating the risk and upfront cost of paying people on salary to grow the company. So the old models, not just in real estate and other industries, let's say I go to Matt and I'm like, hey, come be a recruiter for my company, or, I'm going to pay you $100,000 a year, but you have to recruit at least 30 people. And let's say you attract 7 to the company. Well, he's getting fired next year. I have to go through the headache of finding someone else to do it. And I lost money because I could have had someone else that could have done better. But what if he works on his own time and has a massive financial incentive to attract agents? And when he attracts an agent to the company, even though he wasn't getting paid to do it, he gets paid when they sell a house and he shares in the revenue, and they're dangling a big carrot for people. So guys, we get paid $2,800 per capping agent for every agent we sponsor in the company, meaning attracting an agent to the EXP business model. So if they go and sell $2.66 million in sales at a 3% commission rate, that's an $80,000 GCI, 20% is a $16,000 cap. So we have a $16,000 cap and 80-20 split with no real estate tax or royalties like a lot of companies have. So if they cap, he's going to receive $2,800 plus he's going to receive a stock award when that agent sold their first house. So just sponsoring 10 agents in the company that are capping agents, which is less than one a month, could be $28,000 or is $28,000 a year in residual income. And he just sponsored 6 agents in this first month alone. So think about what he's going to do over the coming months, right? So that's why people are coming over to build time and money freedom through residuals as an agent. And on top of that, they're taking that money and rolling it back into assets at Airbnbs, buying rental properties as they make it. So it's just a huge opportunity. So what's the plan going forward? You're just going to continue trying to scale your Airbnb business, focus on building rev share. What's your main focus?
Man, that's tough. I see a lot of shiny pennies, a lot of shiny pennies out there that I'm learning to say no. That's what I'm trying to focus on right now. Learn to say no and all those other shiny pennies. But right now I'm focused on growing my rev share team, producing and helping them produce as agents. And then as my capital increases with our partnerships, my goal is, over the next 2 years, I want to have about 10 Airbnbs total, which I think is totally doable, along the coast here. And then after that, we're going to start to expand out to other areas, Colorado, maybe go international. We'll see. I'd love to be able to go to France and stay at my own Airbnb. It'd be great.
Right. And so, guys, even if you're not partners with us at EXP, you're any EXP and you're an investor, think about that. What we're talking about with Airbnb in different markets and having vacation rentals, and having agents in your team look for these types of properties there, because they may be walking past a deal that they could get a commission on, that you may want to own that property in a nice area. Yeah. So it's just an interesting time. So what, I probably know the answer to this, what made you want to align and partner with a team like ours who is focused on investing as well as social media and EXP, and we kind of do all the areas around the business. But obviously Chris is a big time investor. Brant Phillips, icon agent and super rock star investor out of Houston, Texas. So was it the investing side that attracted you? That we all are all real estate investors as well?
Yeah, I mean, birds of a feather flock together, right? And so I love the idea of if I have questions about the EXP model and how I can incorporate that, I can ping you, I can ping Brant, and you guys have been very responsive, and it's just nice to be able to have that kind of mindset. It's a mindset thing. It's an all-encompassing, like you said, to be able to ping every one of those revenue streams that we can get, so we can truly be comfortable and take control of our lives, which is ultimately the goal that I wanted to have.
Well, awesome, man. I'm grateful to get you on here. Grateful to be partners with you. Actually, I think we're planning a trip out there to Florida. I just talked to Chris Bounds a little bit earlier today, and potentially helping y'all get a lunch and learn up and going. But is there anything else you want to go over here? Is there anything that you've learned, or doing any of these strategies that you think are good words of wisdom to leave the audience with? Or
no, man. I mean, I would just say if you have questions about EXP and you've gotten this far, you shouldn't have any questions, but definitely reach out. And no, I'm looking forward to having you guys come out sometime this fall or winter time frame to really get the lunch and learns going out in the Panhandle of Florida, because I think again, to spread that EXP gospel so people can really truly reap the benefits.
Right. So there's we were talking about this earlier days. So I think his name's Jeff Whitespear, came on a call. He's a big time Houston agent doing hundreds of deals a year, and he was invited to the company by an agent that's not really done much in the business, and he was saying that a lot of people are scared to talk about the business model with other people. I don't know whether it's, they don't understand our business model, or they just have social anxiety, because some people are scared of strangers. But he was saying how much it changes lives. So guys, if you know someone in the company, or that you think would be interested in the company, get them in touch with us, because you're helping them out. Because, unless they have a really unique model we haven't seen, I can pretty much show them how the math can work, where it's going to improve their business. So looking forward to talking with you guys. Matt, appreciate you coming on here. Great story. Looking forward to what's coming up with you over the coming months. I'm sure you're going to explode a team. And guys, we'll see you when we see you.